Okay, welcome to Andy and Chen, basically. So this is the Chen Chat, where we're going to cover all sorts of things. I've got no idea what we're going to talk about, because generally Chen decides what we're going to say, what we're going to talk about. So I kind of leave the content to him. And from that perspective, I'm just going to do a quick intro as to a bit of background. I'm just going to check the channel a sec, just to check that we are live, and I can see that we're working, which is good. It's been a while since I've used StreamYard, so we're just checking that everything is in place. So just bear with me for a sec. Again, you guys can pop some things in the comments if anyone's got anything they'd like to ask. Before Chen comes in, I can probably cover a few things. When Chen comes in, obviously Miles will be closed, and therefore Chen won't be able to answer anything particularly. But if you've got comments, you can put them in the chat box, and we can always cover them next week. So the plan being that this will be like a weekly thing, which will be good. Okay, so I'm just going to go to comments. Okay, I didn't notice a prior notice of live chat being held today. I think Jane had been sending a few things out on Facebook, Joe, actually. So there was a few posts that have gone out on the Chen page, also the Andrew Surgeon page, and I think in the SRA discussion group as well. Of course, the big problem with Facebook is it just seems to decide on the algorithm as to who gets to see these posts and notifications, basically. So hopefully, most of you, or some people anyway, will actually get to see this, which would be cool. So the idea is that Chen wants to talk. We all know that Chen loves to chat. I can talk, apparently, so Jane tells me. Hi, Agata, good to see you. And if I can talk, Chen can talk 3 times as much as me. So the general gist is basically that between the pair of us, there's a lot of conversation that we can have. So I think from that perspective, Chen's been very keen to address an audience that are into spiritual things, obviously. And there's lots of people that are kind of new to spirituality that are reaching out to us on a daily basis. Jane's kind of fielding emails on a daily basis, really, from people that are new to the field of spirituality. They want to know various spiritual things, and obviously they're very interested in the work that we do from a kind of psychic surgery perspective. And also, of course, Chen. So Chen is a big kind of draw from that perspective. And I obviously channel the energy of Chen. So I'm just going to go back slightly. For those of you that know all this, it might be just a catch up. But for new people that have never seen us before, never heard of us, don't really know what we do, which there seems to be a lot of people, then I'll just go over kind of a quick backstory, really. So my name's Andy Poulter. I'm a psychic surgeon. So psychic surgeon means the modern version of psychic surgery, of course. The old method of psychic surgery was a sharp instrument that people would use to take things out of your physical body. Of course, we can't do that in the UK and most Western countries, which is a good thing, because obviously we're not medically qualified. So what we do from a psychic surgery perspective is I work with a spirit guide. My spirit guide's name is Chen. I've been working with him for 20 years now. And basically he performs what he terms as etheric surgery on the etheric field. So we've all got a physical body that we know, we can see, we can pinch ourselves, we know it's there. And also, we've also got this etheric field that vibrates outside of our physical body. And all of the problems that we have, lots of other things can be entangled into that etheric field. And this is where Chen and his spiritual team perform psychic surgery. So they go into that field, they take that field apart, they look for different vibrations, and they can remove and clear a whole host of different things that kind of get stuck in that field, basically. So that is the modern version of psychic surgery. So I don't use a knife, I don't have any scalpel, no instruments. It's literally myself working with Chen. So when I work hands-on, Chen would literally, I'd put my hands on someone's stomach, someone else would be lying on the bed, obviously the client. Chen would come in, I'd give him access to my physical body, he would take over. And then basically in a trance-like state, Chen would speak to the person lying on the bed, and he would tell them what he could see, what he could find in their field, in their etheric field, and he would also make changes then to their etheric field, performing what we call psychic surgery. And then the changes that he made in that etheric field would then vibrate out of that field into the physical. So if that person had a physical problem, we wait maybe 5 or 6 days for the vibration to catch up, and that person should start to see and feel the physical changes. If those things were spiritual issues, problems, things attached like spiritual entities, spiritual discarnate spirits, that type of thing, then obviously they would be cleared and removed immediately. So this is the kind of modern version, really, of psychic surgery. And as part of my progress over those 20 years, I've been working with Chen, and I work in trance. So what I do is I basically go into a meditative state, give Chen access to my physical body, spiritual body. He basically positively possesses me effectively. So he comes in whilst I'm in trance, takes over, and then obviously speaks through me. So Chen's quite good. He's been doing that a long time. It took us years of practice to get to the point that he could do that. But he's quite happy to walk around the room. He can wave his hands about and talk. Chen and Jane spend quite a few hours sat talking. And actually most of our family, most of our children have what they call Chenzo chats. I think Ollie calls it a Chenzo chat. And Lloyd, Jane's son, quite often has a chat with Chen just for guidance. And generally they find him quite comical. It's quite amusing. Got a lot to say, basically. And obviously a lot of spiritual wisdom and a lot of spiritual guidance is kind of baked into that pie, really, from that perspective. So so the idea of this is a weekly kind of meeting for an audience with Chen, for him to talk about different things. As I say, I don't know exactly what he's going to talk about, but there'll be things that should be of interest to most people. Again, for people in the chat, I'm going to say hi to Sarah, hi to Sandra, Laura, Vanessa. Good to see you, Nessie. And also Angelo, I think. So it's good to see sort of familiar people, familiar names. And again, if you've got particular questions, we probably won't cover many this week. Although if you ask the questions, Chen may do that. But certainly if you put the questions in the chat, Jane can pick them up after this, basically, and we can probably cover them next week. So the idea being that we just have a kind of general, Chen gets to talk about the things that he likes to talk about. Some of them will be around spiritual development, the concept of spirituality. We're going to try and stay off of any topics that are difficult. So we're not going to talk about politics and things like that, because obviously that's not a spiritual conversation. It's not what we're really about. So we're about sort of spiritual development. We're all about people making positive progress in their life, people changing their life, really. And of course, when we start to understand, as many of us do, that a lot of problems that we have actually come from a spiritual source. And I think this is one of the things that we're starting to realize, really, from a kind of cultural and a society perspective, is that there are lots of things that happen from a spiritual basis that actually change our life. They change our thought process. They change the things that we think, and therefore the things that we do. And of course, as part of our, we run basically a 6-week meditation self-protection course, and that kind of runs every 2 or 3 months. And effectively on that course, we kind of talk about how things impact you, how things can affect you, how things affect your emotional state. But more importantly, it's a self-development 6 weeks, really. So people start that course coming in with different expectations, and we work through how we protect ourselves from negativity and how we develop ourselves and move into a kind of spiritual space, but through a clearing perspective. So the whole course is designed, really, from my perspective, working obviously with Chen. Chen's the boss, really. So that whole course is designed that we've got meditations and things that we run through that clear your field. So at the end of 6 weeks, your field should be a lot clearer than it is on week 1. Therefore, you should be feeling better. And also, you're obviously taught the techniques, things that I've learned over 20 years in terms of how to protect myself, how to bring myself into a different kind of spiritual vibration, spiritual space. So that course is obviously running on a 6-week basis. If you're interested, you can check out the website. Just going to say hi to Thumbelina, Elaine, and Mimi. Thumbelina, that's a cool name. I think Thumbelina is a character. Thumbelina Tom, great. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so what we're going to do, without any further ado, I think I've been talking for 10 minutes. You're not here to talk to me or listen to me, you're here to listen to Chen, which is good. So let's get Chen in for a quick chat. I'm going to set my phone, because otherwise I'll still be here at midnight. And we've got a course running later that I need to be on, obviously, and mentally able to do. So let's give Chen 30 minutes. Cool. Okay, so that's set. So I'm just going to literally close my eyes. Chen's ready to roll, so I'll get him in. And I will be back in about 30 minutes or so, which will be good. So Angera is asking a question. It seems like there's a queue of pre-planned events that will happen no matter what. What are we really to decide and how severe these events would be? That's a really good question, actually. Very good question. So Chen will kind of note that one down. We'll see if Chen can cover it, because obviously if he can, that'll be great. If he can't, then we'll do that next week. So anyone else that's got questions, if you pop them in the chat, Chen can pick them up, and we'll put that on Chen's list of things to do, which will be good, because there's always a list and there's always things to do generally. Okay, so let's hand over to Chen, see what he has in store for us this week. Good day to you all. It's my utmost pleasure, and obviously with excitement, I'm able to engage again in this particular format. This is something I love to do. I'm very passionate to talk to all of you. I'm very passionate to help humanity. And I have lots of messaging. And as you know, I do like to speak. Young Andrew's quite correct. I have lots of information that I would like to provide. And of course, this information must be processed and filtered by yourselves. When you hear information, you hear it in different ways. You hear it through your ears if it's spoken information. And of course, when it's spoken to you, your brain then processes the information that you hear. At that point, of course, your subconscious comes into play, and of course, part of your higher evolved self. Therefore, you filter the information. Now, all of you have the ability and the intellectual ability to be able to listen to things, and you decide what you agree with and what you don't agree with. And you do this every day, all day. Of course, it's part of your design, without really realizing. And this is part of the topic of conversation today, is about how we protect our thoughts, how we manage our thoughts, how our thoughts affect us. So you are spiritual individuals, as you all know. You have a spiritual intelligence, and that spiritual intelligence is locked and encased inside a physical body. So you walk around in your physical suit, if you like. And of course, most of you realize that the lives that you live, you've lived many, many lives before. This is just another incarnation. You choose a different name, you choose to look different, you choose different hairstyles and different physicality and physical bodies. So everything really is pre-chosen by you. Of course, this locks into numerology. It locks into astrology. So when you actually choose to incarnate into your physical life this time around, you're aligning with the cosmos. You're aligning with the planetary systems that evolve and move. You're coming in to a dated system. The world that you work in and you live in is encased in time and date. So you're waking by the sun, you're sleeping by the moon. Your general day is aligned with the planetary movements. And this makes you a planetary individual to a certain degree. So let's just say that you, before you come into this physical life, you're in your spiritual form, as I am myself. And you lock in and choose the life lessons that you wish to live in this life. And there are certain key lessons. People will choose pain. People will choose to go through trauma. People will choose to go through abuse in different methods and different versions of. But key things in your life are chosen by you, by your spirit, as part of a test. And you're testing yourself and you're evolving yourself. So there are two paths that you walk in a way. You have your own spiritual path that you're choosing and you're evolving yourself. And then, of course, there's the collective global conscious awareness. So everything that you do, everything that you think is embraced and connected into this global network, this global conscious awareness for your species, for humanity, for human people. So if you go through an experience, part of that experience is written into a record of your species. And this is when you see large groups of people that do similar things affect other people. So if people are starting to feel positive and happy around the world, then the general conscious awareness around the world will rise and people will wake up feeling better. If the general conscious awareness around the world is fear-based and negative, then people wake up in the morning connected to that global conscious awareness and may feel more negative. And of course, so this happens on a global perspective for all of you, every single human on the planet, but you're all living your own path You're walking your own path and you're living your own life. What you don't realize really is that you're so interconnected with everyone else. So when someone around you feels pain, you potentially have that vibration come into your field, and it will upset your day. It will change how you feel. And this, of course, friends, is why spiritual protection is so important in the species that you have. Because if you don't lock yourself into your own protected space and protect your energy systems from other people, then you will be affected by other people in your physical environment, people around you. And of course, you will be affected by this global conscious awareness that we speak of too. So if you can imagine, if lots of people in one country are experiencing war, which they always are on this planet because there's always war. But if all of the people that are involved in war, all of the soldiers that are fighting are in fear every day for their lives, of course. The people the civilians in these places, in war zones, they live in fear on a daily basis. Of course, the general vibration is very low in a battlefield, in a war zone, in a country at war. So that vibration is pushed across the planet. And if you're not in your protected space from a spiritual perspective, that negative low fear vibration percolates around the planet. Of course, if you think of a computer virus in the same way, a computer virus has to start somewhere. There has to be a computer that's infected with a virus. And as other computers connect to that computer, so the virus spreads. And eventually all of the computers around the world that are connected in the same way end up with this virus, the same as humans. If you have a viral threat, one person must start with that virus, and then of course other people are infected, and so people coming into direct communication or contact with those people that are viral become viral too. And this is how viruses spread. So the same concept for you to think about in your mind works across humanity from a thought perspective. So locking yourself into your own protected vibration on a daily basis is actually essential if you want to control your emotional state. And this is why so many of you are feeling trembly, are feeling anxious, anxiety and depression. It is very, very prominent, certainly amongst the majority of the people on the planet. And when we scan people's fields, which we do every day, we perform, as Andrew says, spiritual clearings on a daily basis for many people. Every time I connect to the field, there's fear, there's low vibration, there's anxiety, there's depression. Those are just words. Anxiety and depression is a word, but it's locked into a frequency. So if you're feeling that frequency and you go to see your medical doctor, your doctor will diagnose you with anxiety or depression. But what you must remember is it's not a thing. It's not a word, it's a frequency that you're feeling. That frequency is changing your emotional state, it's changing how you feel. That then, of course, changes your thought process. So if you're locked in and connected to a low vibration that's based in fear and negativity, you will feel certain emotional symptoms like anxiety, depression. You will feel uneasy. You will probably be ungrounded from the planet. So you might find yourself all over the place from a physical perspective, feeling giddy at times, feeling not quite connected to planet Earth. You'll feel emotionally disconnected from your loved ones and from people around you. So again, the first things people need to consider and to think about is protecting themselves from everyone else. Because when you're locked inside this bubble of light, effectively, as we discuss, your energy becomes your own. You become a sovereign individual, meaning your energy is your own. There is nothing negative connected. And in that state, your emotional structure and your emotional control system is now yours for you to control. Not to say people still don't have problems, but once you move into a sovereign state, you have the ability to be able to control your thoughts. You bring about calm inside your mind. You push away negative feelings and negativity. Now, of course, meditation, the concept of meditation is that people sit round in circles all day with their fingers like so, and they've got all day with nothing to do. Of course, the concept being this is meditation for those people that are following different types of religious practice. So we may think of monks or people, Buddhas, or people maybe that have the time to do that. They dedicate their time and their effort to meditation, to connecting to other spiritual entities like myself. But for most normal people, either there is no interest to do this, or of course, there is no time to do this. And this is where we start to think about moving yourself into a different vibration with your mind, but very quickly. So in the morning, just to think of yourself locked inside a bubble of light. That's the starting point, to actually consider that you need to be in a protected space. To then challenge yourself, is my energy sovereign? This you can ask yourself 3 times. Am I sovereign, yes or no? Am I sovereign, yes or no? Am I sovereign, yes or no? We teach this on our courses. Andrew talks about this all the time. It's the simplest test that a human can do to check its own sovereignty. And if you get a no, therefore you know that there is an energy now connected into your etheric field that is not your own. And therefore it's most probably negative, because from our perspective, your etheric field, your bubble of light, should only contain your frequency of vibration. And this, friends, is what we scan when we perform clearings. We scan a field of a client, and if I'm looking for a vibration, I look at the core root frequency of that person. If I find anything else in that field that's not that core root frequency, then we remove it and we clean it and we cleanse it. And of course, there are a whole host of things that we can discuss in further conversations around what can be found in the field, why those things are there. But the general concept for this conversation is about your own sovereignty protection, bringing yourself into a pure vibration, which changes your life. And this is the key. This is life-changing techniques. And these are techniques that are so simple that all of you can do them. Every single person can stop for a second. Now you can stop for 30 seconds, just analyze your thoughts. What's coming in? What's going out? Which thoughts do I like? Which thoughts don't I like? Which thoughts are positive? Am I thinking any positive thoughts? Or am I only having negative thoughts? Am I only considering what I need to do in the next hour? The things that I have to do for work, the things that I have to do for my loved ones and my family. So these thoughts are running through your mind all the time. And if I told you that many of them are not your own, they come in from an external source. And this is the problem from a sovereignty perspective, is that there are external energies around you that manipulate your thought process on a minute-by-minute basis. And those thoughts change your emotions. We all know you can wake up in the morning, you can feel quite happy, quite positive, joyful even maybe. And then you might talk to one of your family members, and the next thing you know, there's an altercation happening. And after that altercation, you feel depressed and down and angry. Now, something changed. The moment you wake up, you were in a positive state. You spoke to your family member, had that altercation that was negative, and then your mindset, your frequency changes and drops. And then, of course, your thought process becomes negative, which connects to your emotional state. So suddenly, for the rest of your day, you're in this low vibrating negative state. Now, you're angry and frustrated and fed up. And then, of course, you go to work and you meet a work colleague, and they annoy you slightly because of your vibration and your state. And then, of course, you fall out with them too. And there's another altercation that's happened. So your frequency drops again. But now you've dropped their frequency. So they may have been happy and joyful until they spoke to you. And now you've changed their frequency. Now you can see how this ripple effect on a daily basis changes each one of you. If every single person that you intermixed with and locked into on a daily basis was in their sovereign protected bubble, they were positive, they were locked in and protected from negativity, life would be so different. You would all be joyful, happy, and enjoying yourselves. People would be whistling on their way to work. It would be an amazing society to see. And these societies have existed before in the past, when people understood spiritual protection and sovereignty. So this is the starting block, really, for anyone that's on a spiritual path. Many people try to run before they can walk. Many people trying to connect to their guides and to do all sorts of things. There's lots of spiritual adventures out there waiting for you all. Most of them will take you down rabbit holes for the rest of your life because they're so interesting and so much fun. But the starting point for everyone should be sovereignty, should be spiritual sovereignty. Now think about your children, friends. Your children don't get taught spiritual practices when they go to school. Your children don't get taught how to manage their emotional state. They don't get taught how thoughts influence themselves and thoughts influence other people. So if we can start to think, let's go back to step one and just think about us as a spiritual individual locked into these physical bodies. And we must start to control our thoughts in a positive way. And suddenly you do wake up positive and joyful. You interact with other people and you shine. And this, of course, is something that we see from a spiritual perspective. In this state, I have no eyes. Andrew's eyes are closed. I cannot see what's in the room. I cannot see the screen. I cannot see anything. But what I can sense and feel is vibration around me. So I'm locked in a small room here in Andrew's study. And around me, there are spiritual tools everywhere. There are crystals everywhere. There are all of the pyramids that young Andrew and Jane put together. So the vibration in this room is exceedingly high. And that, of course, makes it very easy for me. I have a high vibration because I'm a spiritual entity. So for me to come in to this physical body, I need to reduce my vibration down drastically to lock in to this low frequency that this physical vehicle has to offer. So, of course, in a room of such high vibration, it takes some time for me to reduce mine down and down, because my vibration has to be polarized with young Andrew's to come in. In the same way you could visualize if a car was moving down the road, if you wanted to jump in and drive, if that car is moving too fast, for one, you wouldn't be able to run fast enough to catch it up. And for two, if the door opened, you probably wouldn't be able to climb in or jump in. So that car has to be slowed right down, almost to walking pace, before you can open the door, climb in, close the door behind you, and then, of course, you can accelerate off down the room, down the road, in a vroom state. Vroom, vroom, off you go. So it's the same concept when we start to think about the spiritual aspects. Everything is vibration, and locking into a higher vibration means moving out of negativity, and that is all down to thought process and emotional state. So this is what we're here to think about today. We're thinking about our children, teaching our children to visualize themselves in bubbles of light. As I said, when my eyes are closed, I cannot see, but I can feel vibration. And when I leave this physical body, I can see vibration in a different way, not with my eyes, but I can see people's light. Each one of you are light beings. We talk about this from a spiritual perspective. Everyone says, activate your light body. What does activating the light body mean? Changing your vibration. We look at religion. Some religions talk about some of the main deities becoming light. They shined like a bright light. They became light, in fact. We talk about things like Jesus Christ becoming light. So these were physical people walking around the world, if we go with the narration and the concept of religion. So they didn't just change into light. They activated their light body. They vibrated at a different frequency. And this is what you all are. You're all light beings encased in a physical vibration. And as you activate your light body, you activate your vibration, and your vibration rises quite quickly. And that moves you out of negativity. So as you start to vibrate at a higher frequency on a day-to-day basis, you move away from gossip. You're not interested in the trappings of negativity. You become more ascended. We talk about the ascended masters that walk the planet. We talk about these spiritual entities that manage to achieve a very high vibration and ascend because their light body opened, their vibration changed, and they moved into this high vibrating state of awareness. And as your vibration changes, of course, you can lock into different frequencies. You can access different frequencies. So when we talk about the angelic realm, those types of things, what does that mean? I think we're all probably aware that the archangels aren't roaming around, flying around the room. They're not flying around the planet, of course, either. They're a vibration and a frequency, and they have access to a very high frequency, a very high vibration. And that means they can do certain things. And this, of course, is how we work from a clearing perspective. When we look at a client that has a negative entity attached in their field, a client that may be schizophrenic, may be hearing intrusive negative voices, may be suicidal, that client is being affected by an external influence. And the way to resolve that problem from our perspective, from a spiritual perspective, of course, is to clear that entity, to disconnect them from the field. That person then has a much higher probability that they'll move into a better conscious state because that entity has been disconnected and cleared. And this is where myself and my team, we have a huge team of entities vibrating at very high frequencies, and they have a certain skill set that comes with high frequencies. So if you see, as you start to ascend, you move into a different band of frequency. And in that band of frequency, you will meet and attract different people vibrating at the same frequency as you. Because, of course, like attracts like, it has to. It's magnetized. Frequency and energy is the same. And this is what we talk about when we talk about spiritual achievements and ascending spiritually. Our vibration is everything that we're talking about. So we know that if we have two magnets in a room, the same poles repel. If you put a north pole against the north pole of a magnet, they will repel and push each other away. But the other way around, they connect to each other and they lock in. And this is the same concept with frequency. As you move your energy and your frequency into a different band, so you'll experience new things and you'll experience new people. And the more time you spend around higher vibrating people, the more positive your life must become. Because, of course, the negative aspect will have less control. You won't be interested in the negative things. When we look at things like politics, politics is a show. It's a show that's been put on earth to control people. It's always been done. It's been done in this phase of humanity's evolvement. It was done before in other times. If we look back to the Roman times and such like, there are many pictures that depict lots of people in groups watching theatrical events. It's done to control the population, of course, and it works very well because human beings are very easily controlled generally. But as your frequency of vibration starts to ascend and you start to move yourself into a different way of thinking with clear sovereign energy, those things don't become of interest anymore. When people call you names and say negative things to you, you just let them wash off. Rather like water off a duck's back, it just slides off because it has no reference point. Because, of course, it's not real and you're not interested to hear those conversations. So the homework for you all, friends, today really is to start to look at the people you live with, look at the people you live around, and start to work out who's vibrating at the highest frequency in the group of acquaintances that you have, and spend more time with them. Spend more time over coffee. Spend more time eating in restaurants, talking. Spend more time around them generally. Try to find groups of positive people, people that are actually thinking about their own mental awareness, their own spiritual evolvement, and spend time with them. Because the more time you spend with those sorts of people, so your vibration will rise. And then you will become one of those people that people wish to spend time with. You will become one of those people that people want to be around because they get a good feeling around you. I'm sure we all know people that we go for coffee with and we sit with them and we listen to the trials and tribulations of their life for an hour, and we're not interested at all. We don't really get time to say anything. Everyone has these people in their life. All of you are probably smiling and laughing, thinking, I know just who Chen is talking of in my particular acquaintance and circle. But of course, when you leave that room or that coffee shop or that restaurant, they feel very good about themselves because they've offloaded their negative energy onto you because you were a good listener. You didn't really say anything. You didn't really have to say anything. Just by being there, they've sat in your vibration. And of course, their vibration has ascended slightly. So when they drive home, they think that was a wonderful meeting. I'd like to see that person again because I feel so good. Now, of course, the opposite is true for you. You get into your car or you travel home, you feel drained, fatigued, tired. The conversation was boring, to say the least, of no interest whatsoever to you. listening to the trials and tribulations of someone else's life. So, of course, the more people in your circle that you spend time with that are talking about their trials and tribulations, your frequency starts to come down. Therefore, your emotional state will come down. Therefore, your level of anxiety and depression and negativity will obviously increase because you're moving yourself down into a lower frequency. So the key, friends, is to spend time with positive people. Same with your children. Put funny things on the television. If you're going to use television and media, which of course everyone does, and the television and media is a wonderful opportunity to find such positivity, find funny things that people laugh at. Because as I've said before, and you all know, I'm sure, when you laugh, your heart chakra opens. It opens and becomes receptive to energy. You broadcast light. If I see a person laughing, hilariously laughing at a comedian that they find so funny, from a spiritual perspective, we see that light broadcast. It broadcasts a long, long way away from you. So if we put a person in their own sphere, effectively, that we're watching some type of comedian and laughing hysterically around a group of people, everyone will be touched. Everyone will feel better. Everyone's energy will be cleared by this high vibrating laughter that happens. And this, of course, friends, is why I say laugh every day. Even if you've got nothing to laugh about, just by laughing, you change the chemistry, you release hormones into your bloodstream. You start to feel better by laughing. There are lots of laughter therapy classes, I am sure. I'm sure there are lots of practitioners and people that run workshops and groups of laughter. Now, you may think it's a waste of time going to a group where you all pretend to laugh every day, but you would be very surprised to see your energy change so quickly if you were to laugh for 5 or 10 minutes every day. Even if you sit in your car and you put on something funny that makes you laugh, watch a funny film, watch animals falling off things. These days, the media shows you all of these things. You've got Facebook and TikTok and a whole manner of social media videos where you can watch funny things happening to other people, to animals, generally around the planet. Changes your vibration, changes your thought process, and makes you feel better. So this, from our perspective, from a spiritual perspective, is what we would prescribe you if I was your doctor and you came to me and you said, I'm feeling slightly down, slightly fed up, the world's about to end, it's such a negative place. I would say, goodness me, let's take away all your gadgets so you've got no idea what's going on in the world to start with. Then you wouldn't need to worry about what's happening in the world. And then what we would do is put you with people that would make you laugh all day. And within probably a few days, your vibration will probably have ascended dramatically. Your emotional state would be pulled along, and suddenly you'd be feeling so much better about yourself. And this, of course, friends, is free. There is no charge to do those things. You don't have to do anything to find laughter, change your vibration, to think positively, to embrace your emotional state. Your emotions can work so well for you. They did when you were a child. If you remember when you were small, you see children, when it rains, they jump up and down in pools and ponds of water, and they're laughing so loud, they're having such fun, getting themselves wet. Parents are generally alongside, not very impressed because, of course, they've got clothing to dry and to wash, but the children are having a magical experience, jumping up and down, getting wet. And you yourself have probably done this. And again, if we view that from a spiritual perspective, we see high vibration. We see light being projected by those children. Their crown chakra opens and they ascend light upwards. That light connects to the grid. That light can be used by you all. If the actual energetic grid of the planet changed its frequency with people projecting light into it, all of you would feel better. You as a group of species, as human beings, all connect to that grid. You've all got connections into it. And if that grid vibrates at a higher frequency, so you all feel better. And this, of course, friends, is the way that we change the planet. We have to get everyone into a higher frequency of vibration, get everyone to think about their own emotional state and start connecting and projecting positivity. You know the things that make you feel down and depressed and fearful. If those things are the news, if those things are politics, if those things are people you speak to, then you just stop doing those things. Think about a native tribe that live in Africa. They're walking around in loinskins, they have spears, they have no gadgetry, they have no phones, they have nothing. They've got no idea what's happening from a planetary perspective. They're generally very happy. They all engage as a tribe, as a unit together. They work together, they eat together, they sleep together, they laugh together, they dance around the fire. Simple things, but as a group of energies, if we were to watch a native species, I would see light projecting from the crown chakra into the grid from every one of them. Even though they have their own trials and tribulations, generally their vibration is very high because, of course, they're not connecting to anything negative. So this is the key for this week. I know that the phone's gone off because, of course, it always does. And I could obviously talk for hours and hours, which is why I asked young Andrew and Jane to give me a slot. Just give me a weekly slot just for 30 minutes. Let me do some talking. Some people will like what I have to say. Some people will dismiss what I have to say. It doesn't matter, because the people that engage and consciously take in and understand the information are the people that we're trying to connect with. The people that don't find this information very interesting are people we don't need to connect with. So this is a voluntary contribution. So from my perspective, thank you all for allowing me to come and talk. Obviously, thank you to young Andrew and Jane for providing the stage, so to speak, and the mechanism to do the work. Because this is work, remember. This is work for us all. You're all working every day on yourselves. I'm working from our perspective, and my team is working for humanity and for this planet. So together, we're making positive movement forward, and there is a huge amount of positive change happening here. You just don't get to hear about it. So I will say good day and sign off, and we will look forward to speaking again next week. All right, folks, so I'm back, basically, with a sore back. Chen's obviously been sat forward. So you can see the way that I sit, basically, is slouched back against the chair, as Jane tells me, where Chen sits bolt upright like a like a straight thing. And of course, that tends to have an impact on my aging back these days. So there we go. But hopefully that was good. Obviously, I've not really got any idea about the things that we've talked about. I'll watch it a bit later and find out what Chen's been saying. But hopefully you guys found that of interest, which will be cool. And as we tend to say, this obviously is planned to be like a weekly podcast. We're just going to do sort of an hour effectively, sort of 5-10 minutes with me. And then Chen will come in and do like a 30-minute chat. And then I'll just kind of finish off. So for you guys that have got questions, if you pop them in the chat on a weekly basis, Jane will pick them up, and we'll see if Chen can remember to go through them when he's in. Other than that, obviously we're available on Facebook. I think we've got an Instagram channel, although I'm not really sure exactly how to use Instagram because it seems slightly odd from my perspective. And we've got a YouTube channel. So everything that we do now, we tend to post on YouTube. I had a radio podcast last week with James Bennett, who runs a channel called What Woke You Up on Rumble. James is a really cool guy. Actually, we had a really good chat. He covered a lot of information, which was really cool. So that's available on our YouTube channel. So if you head over to YouTube and you're bored and you've got nothing to do, and you want to listen to me talking, and Chen did come in actually, so James did talk directly to Chen and had a whole lot of questions that they kind of covered. So kind of feel free to head over there. Other than that, I will say good day to you all, and no doubt I'll catch you all again next week. All right, folks, thanks for joining, and take care.